Good morning, friends, and welcome back to Random Hearts and welcome to the kitchen. Today we are going to be making a traditional beef pot roast with roasted vegetables. We are going to be using our crock pot for this. You can bake this in the oven at a low temperature, but I need something that I do not need to attend to. That's why I chose the crock pot today. I am going to be putting this in the crock pot. We'll let it sit for 6 to 8 hours depending on the size of the roast. The house will smell amazing and I do not need to be in here to watch it. But we do need to go out to the garden a little later on and get some produce from the garden. And we had a light frost last night that we were not expecting. Everything was uncovered and I have not looked to see what made it and what didn't. I do have green beans out there that I think I will need to pull today. And I also need to get some carrots and onions for this dish. Now you'll see our onions did not do super well this year, but they will work perfectly in this dish. So let's get this meat into the crock pot. Let's get that going and then we'll head outside. So I have a 2.5 pound chuck roast right here. This one has quite a bit of marbling inside the meat. That should help with some of the juiciness and tenderness of the meat. I definitely want to add a little salt and pepper at this point. I would traditionally use salt and pepper, but today I am going to use some Montreal steak seasoning. We're just going to toss that on top of it. I'm going to press that in, kind of rub it in a little to get a little bit of that peppery flavoring down inside the meat. And I do have a skillet heating right now because we are going to brown this up really quick before we get it into the crock pot. Now that ought to do it for right now. We don't want to add too much salt and pepper at this point because the seasoning mix I am using today will have quite a lot of salt in it. All right here I am going to add a little bit of olive oil to this skillet. Like I said, it is heating up. We're about at medium heat. It's not there yet. I'm going to wash my hands and then I'll come back to this. My skillet is now heated. And I want to get this into the skillet. This might pop a little. I just want to let that sit and brown up. Let me check this. It looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and flip that. It's a little bit heavier than I thought it would be. Looking great. And we'll let that sit again. All right, so I do want to try to get the sides of this browned up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hold this here because the roast will not stand on its own very well. I'll just have to hold it for a couple of minutes and then we'll flip it over and get the other side. All right, I am ready to transfer this. I've got all sides browned up. It looks wonderful. And I'm going to quick toss this into our crock pot. And don't worry, the drippings that are in here, I am going to be doing something with those right now. We'll get this on and we'll go from there. I've got some pre-cut onion here. I'm going to go ahead and put all of that into those drippings. I did turn the heat down just a little bit and you can see I've got kind of a mess here. I'm going to clean that up real quick. All right, I've let these kind of brown up a little. I kind of want to caramelize them, but I do not want to lose all of this on the bottom. So I am going to use a little bit of beef broth, kind of deglaze the bottom of this pan. And then we're going to transfer all of this. I'm going to turn this completely off. I'm going to transfer this to our pot roast. So let this cook down just a little and then we'll get it transferred. So we're going to add a Lipton onion soup mix to this. This is going to have a lot of onion flavor to it. This is the traditional. I have used the mushroom version before, and I'm just putting that right over the top of all of those onions and the pot roast that I just browned up. Then I'm going to add a tiny bit more of our beef broth, probably less than 1/4 cup. Just going to drizzle that over the top. I don't want too much. That's probably good. And then I will be adding some of our homegrown garlic. I've got 2 cloves here. We do find that this garlic is a little more intense than regular garlic. This was the Music hardneck variety, and it does have a little more of a spicy flavor to it. So I'm going to kind of spread that out in there. And that is all there is to it. This is going to cook on low for anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. I will check it at 6 hours and see how it's doing. But I think we're good to go. We're going to put the lid on and just let it cook. So I can see right here I got a little bit of damage last night. These aren't dead yet, but anything that was exposed on the top right here is going to die. It's going to end up wilting like this one right here. But I will check to see if there's any green beans that I can pull today, and we'll get those off of the plant. I think I can take this one right here. That looks like a good one. I do have some in the house already that we will be using with our dinner. We just weren't expecting that frost last night, and I did not get things covered. Sometimes that happens. So if I can leave those for another couple of days, I know our temperatures are coming back up, those will become viable green beans. I'm just going to go through here, see what we can pull, what I can use for tonight's dinner and what I can save. So these are our onions right here. These are the Frontier onion, and they did not do well this year at all. You can see they did not bulb up, and I can still use this part and the greens on here up to a certain point. So we're going to use that today in this dish. I'll cut those up, clean them up, and we'll get those into the dish. I'm going to take, I think, 3 of these. Beautiful roots on them, just didn't do anything. I'm here in the Bolero carrots, and I'm going to go ahead and try to get some of these to come out of the ground. I know they're not super big, but I do want some of these for dinner tonight. I'll have to get a shovel and dig that one out. Yeah, not bad at all. Okay, I've got my shovel. I'm going to go in kind of right next to it, kind of push it up. Yeah, not a bad carrot. I think I'll take just a few more and then we'll call that good. This is what we got out of the garden today. We'll use those onions in our dish and the carrots tonight. We'll also be cooking up some of those green beans. I do have some more in the house that we'll add to that. But that's what we needed from the garden today, so we'll head indoors and get those ready. So this has been cooking now for about 5 hours. It smells amazing in here. Now we're going to add our potatoes, and these I cut into very large chunks. Most of the time I just use smaller potatoes and add the entire potato, but these were pretty large. I'm just going to put those all the way around the outside edge, kind of get them down into the juice that the roast has left along the sides. Now I did take a thermometer and check this roast, and it is completely up to temperature. We are completely cooked, but we're going to get these potatoes in here. We're going to get them roasting. And then here in about a half an hour, I'm going to add the carrots. So these have been cooking now for about a half an hour. We've got our potatoes in here, and I have been basting them. I've done that a couple of times. Now we're going to add in our carrots. Again, we're going to want to slide those in down towards the side so they can get in some of that juice. We will baste these a couple more times, but in total, this is going to cook for about another hour. I want all of these potatoes and carrots to get very tender, and like I said, I'll continue basting. We will want to add a little bit of this green onion to the top. This is some of the onion we pulled out just a little bit ago out of the garden. I just cut off the green parts, put those in the refrigerator, and that was all of the white This has now been cooking for about 7 hours, and I'm going to remove all of the potatoes and carrots first. I did glaze everything, or did baste everything, so there's quite a bit of that onion mixture and broth on the top of all of that. Okay, I've got all the potatoes and carrots out. We'll put some foil on those, let them sit, and now I'm going to remove the entire roast. This can sometimes be a little bit cumbersome, but I find that tongs work the best. We're going to go ahead and tent that up as well. And then I'm going to increase the heat on my crock pot. I'm going to go to high, and we're going to get this so that it's boiling. I'm going to make gravy with what is left in here. It is a little bit on the greasy side, but I think it'll make some lovely gravy. So I've got a pan going over here on the stove at about medium heat. It's got a tablespoon of butter in it. I am going to be cooking up our green beans in this skillet. I've got 1 clove of garlic in here. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the skillet. And that's not quite hot enough for that to start cooking yet, so we'll let that have a second or two to warm up. All right, this has warmed up enough for my liking. The garlic has started to cook, and we're just going to add those cut and washed green beans to this skillet. I'm just going to spread them out into a nice thin layer on the bottom, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Sometimes I will add a little bit of basil to this, but I am not going to do that tonight. We're just going to do garlic and salt and pepper for the seasoning, and that will be everything. I'll give it 1 quick stir just to kind of redistribute all that seasoning, and then we're going to let it just sit and fry. This will take probably about 5 minutes, and then I'll stir it again, and we're just looking for that bright green color. You can already see it's coming. I did turn up the crock pot. It is now boiling on the sides, and I'm going to go ahead and make a cornstarch slurry for this. I've got about 1/4 cup of water in there and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. We're going to stir that up really well. I probably should not need to add any kind of seasoning to this. I may test it to see if it needs salt and pepper. But I'm just going to carefully dump that into my mixture here, and we're going to get that stirred up. I'm going to have to keep a close eye on this and make sure that it doesn't stick and doesn't get too thick. So that's all there is to that. We'll just keep stirring that up and let that go. I'm going to go ahead and give these green beans a quick little stir. You can see that the garlic does turn brown very quickly. We actually like the flavor of the garlic when it gets to that point. Again, I'm going to give that a nice thin layer on the bottom of the skillet, and we're just going to let it sit. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of pepper to this. I did taste it, and it has plenty of salt, so I'm not worried about the salt content. And I'm going to give that another stir with the whisk. It is not thickening yet, but hopefully it will do that soon. If I find that I don't have enough of the thickening agent, which is the cornstarch, I will add a little bit more. All right, I think these green beans are pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. You can see they've got a nice char on the outside. They're still bright green, and you can see all of that delicious garlic that has crisped up. That's everything for the green beans. We'll turn those off. The gravy should be done in just a minute, and we'll dish this up. All right, so we are ready. We've already served up everything. I did cut the potatoes up, and we're just going to throw some of that gravy over the top of both the potatoes and the meat. Well, friends, that's going to do it for us today. We were able to make that beef pot roast with the roasted vegetables. We did that all in the crock pot. It took very little time on my part, but 7 hours later, we've got a delicious meal. And we were able to get quite a bit of that straight from our garden, and that feels really good. Now, I did go out and get some more carrots out of the garden a little later this afternoon, and our green beans were hit a lot harder than I had initially thought. So we'll be pulling quite a bit of our garden beds here in the next couple of days, but we appreciate you coming along with us. We hope you love this video. This has been one of my husband's favorite dishes for many years. He loves pot roast, and we like to use leftover pot roast meat for stroganoff. So in the next couple days, I will probably be making stroganoff with the whatevers we don't eat tonight. And if you'd like that video, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any questions or comments, also leave those down below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We would love to have you with us, and we hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.